Good afternoon. Welcome to Show Studios Paris Fashion Week coverage for the men's shows. Today we're going to talk about the biggest luxury brand in the world, Louis Vuitton, and probably the most successful British menswear designer working today, Kim Jones. So if the panel can introduce themselves, Carri.
Hi, I'm Carri. I'm a designer, stylist and art director.
I'm Tremaine and I work for Marc Jacobs.
Hi, I'm Dominic and I'm a jewellery designer.
I'm Mimma Viglezio and I'm a management and creative consultant.
So, Kim, let's talk about Kim, because I think quite a few of us know Kim. And I think he's a very important designer for Britain. He seemed to mark a real shift. And he's a very important designer for menswear. And he's now, you know, when you look at Louis Vuitton's social media following and, you know, the amount of following that he has, he's a very sort of important entity. So Carri, talk to me a little bit about Kim.
Kim's been he's been a massive inspiration for me personally and a bit of a mentor. And I'd say that he's had the most influence of any British menswear designer on a new generation of London men's designers. I think what you said about his following as well is really important. I think he really, he's a designer, but he really understands the extension of that. He understands branding, but in a very classy way. I think it's very, very well done.
Yeah, he was very forward. He was very forward on engaging with the internet, engaging with his followers, and having a personal relationship. I remember finding it quite interesting that him and Hedi around the same time were doing that, so they actually knew the names of their biggest fans, and at that time that was quite an advanced thing to do. And also the other thing that Kim always did, which was incredibly flattering, was always sort of deal with the press very personally, and you know, did those little tricks like asking you what you thought of the show.
Does it still? Now that it's so
a little
big
bit,
and
yeah.
successful?
When I wanted an interview, it's very easy to get one.
Good.
Tremaine, as an American, what's your take on Kim Jones?
On a personal level, like, I got exposed to his work and him as a person through my friend Joey, who used to model for him when he was just doing the Kim Jones lines and he'd do his shows in New York. So I just remember we had a night at Maritime Hotel and we were all hanging out. And he was like my first thing that kind of tuned me into what was going on in London, as far as fashion and just culture. He's a lovely dude. So just talking to him and like just seeing his whole style and the way he carried himself and the way he spoke about London, but he's also so tuned into culture in general. You know, he's talking about stuff in New York, and he's a very well traveled man. And so in a way, it's a huge connection for me. He's probably the first person in my adult life that made me want to come to London, meeting him. You know, I had no idea who he was. It's just like my friend Joey used to always just talk about this dude that hires him to walk his shows. He's a real nice guy. So then, and even just aesthetically on like a shallow level, just how he dressed. You know, like probably one of the first dudes I seen wearing sweats with like a button-down shirt and like some Jordans. You know, and this is like 8 years ago, a long time ago. I've been in London 4 years ago. Like probably 7 years ago. So just stuff like that. It was just like advanced, but not. He was advanced, but not advanced like in a sense where you think like, I don't know, wild clothing that you're like, oh, where would you wear this? But advanced and taking like classic stuff, but mixing it up. You know, very detail oriented and just, you know, everything about him is like super, super, super tasteful, but yet never feels like haughty-taughty. You know. Everything's down to earth, kind of street, but everything's super tasteful with Kim. So
I think he really understands streetwear and street culture.
Yeah.
And I think even now, I mean, he's really creating, you know, redefining luxury and doing modern luxury, but there's something very British about it in British streetwear, that subversion of streetwear and sportswear and even like activewear.
Well, sportswear too. He's probably the first dude I saw doing, like, personally I saw like bringing sportswear into that mix.
Well, he designed for Gimme 5, didn't he? And
Yeah, and I think the line that he did for Umbro was really innovative. I think it was kind of a bit before its time. It would be like so much more successful if it was around now. But that was really cult, I think, for a lot of
That's very true.
people.
I think part of his great success is that he's very creative and innovative, yet relevant, which is a little bit what you were saying, because especially when now he works with someone as big as Louis Vuitton, you can't just be, you know, an artist and do weird things, and he's very good at being still, you know, on the edge but relevant, so rather wearable.
Well, he does have this amazing ability to be relevant, doesn't he? It's,
Which is a talent.
and
You
then-
know, it's a huge talent, because at the end of the day you still have to sell clothes or to make your bosses keep you, you know, and when you work in corporate life like LVMH, it's important, and that's a little bit, you were mentioning Hedi at the beginning, that's what Hedi managed to do with Dior at his time, you know, it was incredibly innovative and creative, and he changed the way men were dressing, yet remaining relevant for a brand like Dior, and that's, I think, it's, you know, the secret of the success.
What, Dom, you share a surname with Kim.
Yeah.
What does he mean to you?
Actually, the fact that I share a surname with him was actually quite helpful. He, like Carri, was a huge mentor and inspiration to me. He is the person that taught me about things like production, and he really, in the start of my career, he really was pretty instrumental. Like, he lied to Dunhill and told them that I was his cousin, and because of that, I was allowed to
really?
use. Yeah, because of that, I was allowed to use their production for getting my pieces made and my packaging
Wow.
and things like that. Like he's the kind of person that really goes out of his way if he believes in someone, and he's really, on a personal level, he's incredibly like supportive of people that he believes in. And in terms of a designer, like like these guys have said, I think his clothes are incredibly innovative. The cuts and the tailoring, when you put on something that Kim's like made, you feel instantly comfortable, but you feel smart, and like he's respectful of men, but he is it's realistic, but it's also super innovative. Everything is finished so precisely and so beautifully. The fastenings, every single little detail of something that Kim designs is just spot on. Nothing's overlooked with his clothes.
He's a real chameleon, isn't he? Like, he's got this ability, you know, it's quite hard to place Kim as a background, yet, you know, he has this, you know, Tim's constantly talking about what a traveller Kim is, and he grew up in Africa, and he understands luxury because I think he, you know, his background in Africa, I think he had access to certain things. But he also has an ability to talk straight to the street, which I think is quite rare. This sort of, he doesn't, you know, he's friends with Professor Green, but he's also like, you know, and Kate Moss and Kanye. He's got a real kind of entourage, but he, you know, he also actually genuinely understands luxury. It's not hard for him to design for the Dunhills and the Louis Vuittons.
No.
I think you're right. I think he really, it's because he lives that lifestyle. He's, you know, he's always travelled, and he still continues to travel, and so he understands that. It's very instinctual to him.
And I think it's a real talent that he's able to completely be himself, but he also is so respectful of the heritage of the brand that he goes into. When he was working for Dunhill, it was very Dunhill. Now that he's coming to Vuitton, it's so Vuitton, but it's so him. And I think that's such a rare thing, especially in the fashion industry as a whole. It's been such a reshuffle in these last few years, and I think he can be held up as one of the people that has really managed to nail taking on a heritage brand and doing it perfectly, in my mind.
I think that respect, it comes from, he doesn't have an ego, I'd say. And you know, especially at the level that he's at now, I'd never see that in him.
He's not imposing the Kim Jonesness.
That's why he could survive with Marc Jacobs.
Yeah, you've worked for Marc, right?
Yeah.
And have you met him? You
Well,
know him?
I was communication director of Vuitton for a year, so
Pardon.
yes,
10
10 years ago.
So you guys, do you see? It's interesting. I mean, obviously Marc has now moved on, but is there a synergy in their approach?
Yeah, really. I mean, I can't even speak from the artistic level, but just from the human level, like, just very humble guys, you know? And, you know, they know it takes more than just them to create what they create. And, you know, you can see that, you know, Totally. Like when Kim went to Louis Vuitton, I'm like, oh, that's great. He's gonna be working with Mark, because Mark's he's just a humble, chill dude. I remember we had one dinner, and I was sitting at the table with him because Robert was introduced, like just reintroducing me. This is like a long time ago, and then someone said, oh, Tremaine, you're sitting at the VIP table, and then Mark was like, I don't have VIP tables at my dinners, you know. So to me, that's Mark. And you know,
well, he did that with time.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I don't know. That's my experience. Maybe it's different than Mark Jacobs. You know, Mark's always nice to me. Moving to London.
No, he was very nice to me too. We got along well, but when that's 10 years ago, I've seen Mark briefly a few years ago, and it was still very nice. The Vuitton world it's a very difficult one, and it's very political, and it's very French, if I may say. And Mark was very good at, probably it was different in Marc Jacobs and in Vuitton. He's
different
very
context.
Smart, and he
Different
knew
context.
exactly also the stakes, at play. And I don't know, there was never something really honest and sincere. And I think I don't know Kim personally, but by seeing how he succeeds and how he's thriving in there, he must be either very smart, or very good and very humble. I'm sure he is. I know Nicolas Ghesquière very well, and I had a conversation with him recently about, where he is and what he's doing now. And, I really hope he will manage to get into that tough political world, which is Louis Vuitton. I mean, I had a long corporate career. It's the only time in my life where I gave my notice after 8 months because I just couldn't bear the political thing. So I'm always very scared when someone I love and I know goes there. But
yeah. Well,
so I have a different image of Marc Jacobs.
But then from what I know of Kim, like I said, like people like Carri, they know him a lot better than I do. But he almost has this kind of laissez-faire attitude where he kind of knows he's going to land on his feet, or maybe he's not even worried about it. So he just goes, she just goes in and does what he has to do.
Which is very good.
Because he's just, obviously, he's like one of probably the best in the world to me right now.
He's
great designers, So if it didn't work out at Louis, he could snatch up somewhere else. Or probably now he's at the point where he could get the funding to launch his own thing, maybe. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
With that in his mind, he's probably more at ease than maybe any other menswear designer that would be there. Maybe they'd be more tense or something like that.
I used to be friends with Kim, and I don't want to talk too much. I mean, I'm still friends, but I don't see him very much. But I think he's very confident in his ability, which is very important as a creator. To just be happy that you're good at what you do is, I think, so many of us waste time because we doubt ourselves.
You can't be in such a big corporate world and not be self-assured in what you do, because they're going to eat you alive, and so I'm sure he is, because he wouldn't have done what he's done in the past 3 years now that he's there. How long has he been at Vuitton?
2.5.
Not in a big-headed way, but I just think as a designer,
no, in a positive way. Yeah.
As a designer, he knows that he can design, and he's good.
Yeah, and he knows himself.
Yeah. And also, it's a massive step to move into one of these houses. It's not something you take in lightly. You have to physically move to Paris. You have to give up a large percentage of your life. It's a massive change to the way you live, and the way that, not just the way that you work, the whole lifestyle changes when you take on one of these roles. It's a huge commitment. Yeah. Like, you can't just do that lightly. You have to know that you're able to do it.
I think it's about building your world within that as well, and he's got a great team, and some of those people he's worked with for a long time. I think that's important too.
One of the things about, because we all sort of talked about him travelling and the global thing, I think I found that really fascinating, because I remember when he sort of rose up, and I saw it as a very, it's the best things that come out of London are international in their outlook. They're looking to relate to, actually very few of the good things in London are selling London. They're almost selling, Beatles, for instance. They wanted to take over the world, right? And I always saw Kim as this guy that had like this massive ambition, and it was very exciting. And the way he's constantly traveling, and he's sort of having, that he is this international man, and really that's luxury today, isn't it?
But that's exactly the opposite of provincial. And one thing that it's appealing to me as a non-English, non-Londoner in these past 10 years is that London is diverse, international, amazing, and that's why it's so creative, and that's why it produces so many creative talents, not only in fashion but in any kind of art. And what you described, it's, for me, it's the exact definition of the opposite of provincial. And with all due respect, I think Paris is very provincial in its approach to things, and London is not. And that's why British fashion designers are so loved and successful worldwide.
What do you think, Carri?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Kim travels a lot, and for inspiration to inspire his design, but also he travels, to meet people, and I think he really understands his markets. I spent time with him in Japan, and I really, really saw that there when he was with Dunhill. And yeah, I think that's really important. But what I really respect in his work is, like you said, the Britishness to it. I think it gives a realness to it, a hardness to it, that I really like in the Louis Vuitton kind of man.
Because you're big in Japan, and he's been very into Asia, like having Ambush do stuff for Louis Vuitton. He's always sort of used, he had his first store, didn't he, in Tokyo, and he
spends a lot of time in China as well, which is obviously like a crucial market as well.
Yeah, what do we, because I think that's interesting, because everybody talks about selling there, but that's kind of a slightly weird colonial attitude, whereas, Kim is going there for inspiration, going there for work. What do you think of that? Like that?
You're talking about Japan or China now? Japan.
I'm talking about Asia.
Wait, very sorry.
No.
Sorry, Japan or China is a very different market. Very different attitude to consumption. So I need to know what you're talking about.
I guess he draws most inspiration from Japan.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
But I think he really understands China as well, which any designer has to.
Yeah.
Especially on that level, it's essential that you engage and learn and are active with China.
Yeah.
On that level of like luxury.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I remember him years ago telling me how good he was at Trivial Pursuits.
It means he has a vast culture.
Yeah. Because he was like, I always win, I'm really good. And and he was like, and I think that, because to be it's Louis Vuitton, it's like, it's how many hundreds of stores, and where that, you need
around
to...
400?
Yeah, and you need to know how you're selling, right? How...
Well, that's a very good point, and I'm so glad you're bringing it up, because there's designer and designer, and some designers that I've worked with and met, they have no idea about sales, they don't even care about looking at the figures, and even when you're in a startup or in a small company, if you know who you're designing for or what you're trying to achieve, even on the business side, it's much better, because it's useless to be creative and unsuccessful. Nobody will know you, nobody will wear you. And I think the smartest one are the one, what you're describing about him, he has a vast culture, he wins at Trivial Pursuit, he knows how to read a P&L, he knows what EBITDA means, and he knows the difference between Japan and China, which, it's getting me passionate, it's so rare. And I'm not surprised he's successful. And it's not only about Vuitton or not, because at the beginning, when I was working with Mark, it didn't seem, at least he was pretending he didn't care. I think he cared more than he showed, and he's smarter than he wanted us to believe. But the most successful one are the ones that are very creative and understand business. I'm sorry, I know this is something other designers hate to hear, but it's so important.
Always, and like I could really see Kim. Because Kim's young. He's still young. You can hit Ralph.
How old is Kim? I have no idea. In his 30s?
Yeah,
I don't know actually.
Is he in his 30s?
He knows. He's not going to tell.
Yeah.
But he's just really. You're right though. Everything you laid out is just, and on a basic level, he just took the corniness out of Louis Vuitton, the men's stuff. It was just
so much.
It was just kind of corny, like, and you only pigeonholed it for a certain type of consumer, or it's just very flamboyant in the wrong way. Just on that level, he just totally scraped that slate, which is incredible, and he almost gave it not, that type of dignity that, like, say, Ralph Lauren has or something like that. He kind of brought that on a luxury level to Louis. So yeah, he's just a fresh dude. He's just just gets it.
The pity is that we don't really know the figures of Vuitton because they're the only one in the group that they don't break. I mean, we know more or less what it's worth, but I have no idea the percentage of the menswear now.
I think it's less about percentage and more about the rapid increase.
The
in
growth.
sale, in growth.
Okay, which is
And this is the
important,
thing,
yeah.
like you talk about people not caring, but Kim's come into this after the recession. He's come into this at a different time, and I
You
I
cannot
think
not care.
And no one can go into a house like that and not care anymore. They would you could, but you'd fall flat on your face very quickly. And I think this is the thing this is why I think that he should be really held up as a really great example, because not only does he care and not only does he understand markets and not only does he make clothes that sell, but he is progressive with it. And that's a really rare balance to have a designer that's
Absolutely.
progressive, makes things that a man wants to wear, is super luxury. He is kind of the whole package, and there isn't many people that are out there that are that complete.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Sorry, go on.
no.
I was just going to say, I don't know, but obviously Louis Vuitton is known as a luxury luggage. I mean, how much proportion do you think is clothes sales and
Well,
luggage
it used to be
sales?
around 10%. I think it's more now, but we're talking billions. So even if it's only 10% of 4 billion, it's a lot of money. So it's small compared to but even in the leather goods, the percentage of sales of what they call the entry price, so the canvas LV, as opposed as the exotic leather, it's humongous. I mean, Louis Vuitton, the margins come from that side of the business.
Yeah.
However, thanks to Mark, which has completely relaunched the brand and injected this fashionable aspect to it, it has grown up to, I think now it's probably more, but even if it's 15%, it's only 15% of a huge number.
Yeah.
So it's still sold. And I guess there is a smaller percentage of it which is men's in that, but it's still, it's still a big market. The exposure, the fact that you're in 5 continents, 400 stores, and
the press coverage since he's taken over
Exactly.
for Vuitton is just insane. Everyone wants to shoot it. Every menswear campaign wants it, and the imagery and the advertising and everything is just super on point.
Really cult pieces, I think.
Yeah,
He's created some
completely.
really cult pieces.
But cult pieces that you could wear down the street and not feel like you're making a spectacle of yourself.
Yeah.
So if money wasn't an issue, would you wear it
For sure.
from
got
head
it
to
on.
toe all the time?
I literally
okay.
I would happily spend all my
All
money
your-
on it.
okay.
And that's the conversation I had with my friend Asad. He was like, I asked him about men's fashion, and he's just like, in London, he's just like, where's the stuff that I would wear though?
No, exactly.
Where's the stuff that I would wear? Where Kim, literally, I was looking back at the spring show, and I'm just like, yesterday, I'm just like, that piece.
Yeah.
And you can't say that for anything men's.
No.
Kind of makes me want to be
even
a
the bigger
man.
menswear designers, it's so little of it is actually realistic for a man to wear casually, regularly.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit pushed. It's funny you say that because up to now, this men's fashion season, the other day I was thinking, I wish I were a man because I think there's more and more amazing stuff.
But maybe that's
And
because you're
even
thinking
in
about it
Milan,
from
which
a
is
woman's
usually
perspective,
very
not from a
bo-
man's perspective.
Remember,
Well, I know a little bit about men's elegance,
Yeah.
it's or even cool, and maybe I think it's getting better and better. I think there's more and more which can cater to different kind of people, from formal to, as I say, streetwear or sportswear, which is this word we can't use anymore apparently. But anyway, I think even, and I'm repeating, even in Milan, where usually it's very formal and very classic, I've seen beautiful material, beautiful new things. So do you really think there's nothing to wear?
I think the
No,
good
I mean, I can only speak personally for what I would wear and what I would want to wear. And you saw people, in my Facebook stream, I saw people going crazy about the Raf Simons show. People loved it. And it was really amazing, and I thought it was really good, but there's not a single piece that I would personally want to wear from that.
it's very easy to buy into the Vuitton dream, and that's not to underplay it, but it's just so desirable because you can so easily imagine wearing it. And
That's what you want to be when
Yeah.
you design fashion, I think,
Yeah.
right?
yeah,
You want to be desirable and easily accessible.
yeah.
No, let apart the price, but
I mean, sometimes you want to throw strong shapes, but that's the good thing, you know. There's a you can have a much more Kim Jones style rain mac. You know, there's bits of reflective, there's bits of fluoro, but there's also, you know, really nice suit or and it all blends into one.
Yeah.
I think you're right though. There's a lot more innovation in menswear than there is in
Incredible.
womenswear at the moment. And like
then
I wear
there is in women's wear,
yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, and I wear a lot of menswear, but like I feel like someone like Kim creates pieces that a woman could wear as well. They're like kind of like
Well, the only other time where I wanted to ask a men's designer to do something for me was at the beginning of Hedi at your home. You probably were not even born.
Two of my flatmates walked in.
And now it's happening again. You know, I feel like going to people and say, "Oh, can you design it? I mean, can you make it in a size that I could wear?" I think there's so much, and I also think that women's wear is starting to be influenced by menswear in every sense.
And I think you're right. I'm just gonna
Flat shoes, jumpers are back in women's fashion. You know, trousers, big, low-cut trousers. I mean, it's becoming so much more important in the creativity.
Well, there was something Charlie Porter was saying, and I think it was very true a few years ago. And he just said, you know, it's London women's wear was very cocktail dress, and it's
So
like
boring.
yeah, and you know, and unless you go to those kind of parties, when on earth are you going to wear it? And I think he was like, you know, there needs to be.
But even at those
Yeah.
parties, you don't want to wear a cocktail dress at a cocktail. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, no, exactly.
yeah, I think it still is.
But I just, before we look at the show, I just also wanted to talk a little bit about because, you know, you spoke about the press, and he was such an amazing, like, one of the things he had was this fantastic catalogue of, you know, he styled shoots for everybody. He was sort of parachuted into a style and art direct shoots for all sorts of magazines. He, you know, YouTube spoke about him as a mentor. He sort of would take certain members of the press under his wing and help magazines, and I think that was very modern as well, that way that he put himself out there, and it wasn't just about moving Kim up. Obviously it was useful to him, but it was also about
Whole culture.
yeah,
Everyone that was involved in culture that is.
Yeah.
The Renaissance man, he sounds like to me.
well, in fashion,
I'm intrigued. I want to meet him now.
you know, because I mean, you've done that as well as a designer, haven't you? You've styled and art directed for magazines.
Yeah, and that's what I find inspiring about Kim. He's a great designer, but I see him as you said, a businessman, and then also, yeah, he sees the bigger picture. He's more, yeah, like an art director. But and yeah, I'm really supportive of the next generation and of new talent, and like being inspired by people, but also wanting to support that and bring that up.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at the show.
Oh,
He has such good music at his show.
And sets, I always love his sets.
that's beautiful.
So beautiful. Do you remember the manta rays swimming
Yeah,
down?
I went to
with
that
the
show.
dazzle?
Yeah.
The one.
Yeah.
I loved that so much.
Is it water? I mean,
Yeah,
does
looks
it
like
represent
rivers
water?
and
Yeah.
Where are we in the world today?
It's very interesting.
beautiful.
I like the way it sucked you in as well
Yeah.
from the first visual. Who said the soundtrack? Is that you, Daryoush, or you?
Yeah, well,
Is it Holly?
isn't it?
Honey Dijon?
Honey, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's done it.
And that's what I mean about keeping her team and building a team around him of close, like, friends and collaborators. He always works with her.
Where he's so respectful. This is the crazy thing, you know. He's somebody that can relate to a certain level of luxury, and yet he's so respectful of club culture and club icons.
So he's not going to play this music without having someone who really. I'm not saying he didn't live. I know he was, you know, he was out and about, but have someone that really is a part of that.
Yeah.
Presented.
Well, you know, like Andre Walker's always been this kind of icon for him.
Yeah.
People in London, you know, he has a collection of Lee Bowery's stuff. He, you know, he's obsessed with
Which he loves dressing up in.
Hmm?
Which he loves his dress up.
Yeah, I was just saying about that before. I look just.
I remember, you know, sometimes he does just one track for the whole show.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember going to one of his Dunhill shows, and it was New Order's Perfect Kiss, and it was just really, really magical. You
That's
know.
really confident as well to do that, isn't it? Yeah.
Where are they showing in Paris?
Is it not the Vuitton space?
At the Vuitton space in the Louvre?
Andre Citron, no? That's where they always show now.
Oh, well, the women now has been in the Carousel du Louvre for a few years, so I don't know, men's.
I've never been to the women's.
That bag is very interesting.
It's amazing.
Is that
Isn't
paint?
it?
Is
Yeah.
the
So
catwalk
amazing. The
painted?
bags are always so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it painted on the catwalk or? You think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but then it's projected maybe on the.
It's probably painted all the way up.
Yeah.
It's interesting to look at the sunglasses knowing, you know, that they'll be quite a big seller.
I'm a bit underwhelmed by the. I mean, it's very elegant, but I still hope that something is going to happen.
Knock you off your seat.
Yeah.
You want to be knocked off your seat.
I
can tell. Yeah.
What do you think? Can someone say to me
It's all right,
if
so
I'm
far.
wrong? It's a tiny bit underwhelming, isn't it?
I think
It's
that-
beautiful.
It's beautiful.
but
And I
I
think,
would-
yeah,
I
if
would
you saw
wear
the pieces
most of
close
that.
up, I'm sure
I
it would
think
be.
there might be
you
a
didn't look to
certain-
me like someone who would wear.
Yeah, if I would.
Okay.
I would want to. I would want
Okay.
to.
I think
I
this-
dream of not
Like,
being
there
a
was
scruffy
two
person.
coats at the beginning that I thought were outstanding, but right now it's like, okay, can you give me something more? Have you noticed that the necktie is definitely dead? London, Milan, Paris, it's official, which I'm quite happy about.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of like that, you know, double-breasted classic formal wear with a t-shirt. But not every man can do that.
But I mean, you know, yesterday somebody asked what would the 2000s be about, and one of the things is the casual wearing of ties and bow ties. You know, when they put the 2000s in a museum.
Of wearing them.
Yeah, you know,
Wearing or
ties,
non-wear?
and,
Yeah.
ties and bow ties in the 2000s were like club wear. You know,
Yeah,
that's-
but now they're gone. I
Yeah.
mean, I haven't seen a tie on.
Yeah, but even like politically, I remember seeing this thing where, was it Obama or like somebody met in China, and it was a very political statement that they took off their ties.
It
And
might
was-
have been Obama. I can see him doing that now.
Yeah, but it was like,
would
you
have
know,
been- was it
Even
not
in the
Iran?
city, the
No, it was
bankers,
definitely
they
in
can go
Japan.
without ties.
yeah, and now it's like,
It's like, wow, finally.
Or what to
it's
make
like it's
to
almost
say,
like
relax.
less threatening. It's kind of like, hey,
You can be very elegant without a tie, and you
I
can
think
be
so.
very unelegant with a tie. So. Is that
oh,
Cunningham,
getting a little close up on the bag.
photographer there? Lovely.
I love the massive bags.
Yeah.
Where can
Everything just looks so comfy, like you just slip into it.
He always does great hiking boots.
Yeah. Can anybody remember where he went this summer? Because that's what the collection will be about.
Oh,
I can't actually remember him because he did the campaign in America, but obviously for last season. and then I can't remember. He hasn't broadcasted. I don't, because normally you know where he's. Where
I
he
like,
is.
Yeah, he
I
Instagrams
like that
like
maroon
pictures.
Yeah, all the
burgundy
colours.
with the blue. That's very beautiful.
Yeah, all the
That's
colours are
it, it's-
beautifully
look.
matched in tones.
You match with that. That's what you're wearing. That's hot.
Oh, that's nice.
That's
that
hard.
colour. Wow.
That's what
You
we
just want to go and squeeze it and touch it.
See, that's the thing what Kim does. Like, that's just a Patagonia. Where you just
But it's luxurious.
luxury. That's it.
But that
And he just
now-
gives you what you want.
But it is starting now, and as you can see, everybody's waking up.
Yeah.
It wasn't this, and this is
Are you out your seat yet?
Kim.
You see rocking a little bit?
Oh, what's that symbol on the jumper?
It's like a crop circle.
Yeah, or it looked kind of Mayan or something. Yeah, is it?
Bags are just amazing.
Always.
The what?
The bags are just
Yeah, the
amazing.
bags. Yeah, that's why I mentioned the bags and about the percentage of sales,
yeah.
because I just think he's done some really great
And it just all
luggage.
looks. I mean, it's
The shoes, I
like
love the shoes.
super modern, but it all looks practical. It all looks like it has a function, and like you'd actually find use of having it with
Yeah.
That's great as well.
I think Kim's a great like product designer. As you know,
you. Completely.
Have velvet.
Yeah. Like you were saying about the details, like with the trims, or have like a little accessory or something that you just really want to have. Is that an all-in-one?
Yeah.
It's quite sci-fi actually.
Especially the sunglasses.
Yeah, the glasses.
That's why I think that the
Yeah.
hair and
Yeah, and with the really
And the
clean,
grooming and
clean
the
lines of
sunglasses,
the.
yeah.
Just the balance of colours in all of the pieces, and it's just so lovely. The shades
really-
and tones are just.
Yeah.
the
Really
shawl
comforting.
colors are very much in trend. They're everywhere I've seen coats with this structured and
Yeah.
shawl colors and like, you know, robe. How
Yeah.
do you say that? That's everywhere. It's quite sexy, I think.
Well, I think one of the things that's nice about Vuitton is it's not fashion victims' clothes.
No, not at all.
You know, and some menswear, even some menswear I love, you're a bit like, if I wore that, I could look like a fashion victim.
And it's like the kind of thing you can have in your wardrobe forever. Like you're not
Yeah.
gonna, it's not gonna date.
Like future classics. Yeah.
Completely.
I'm so surprised from what you guys say. I was expecting something totally different from you. I like what I hear, but I'm like, wow, they're talking about, you know,
But his
everlasting.
clothes, these make me want to grow up. These make me want to like. They make me want to like
Fantastic. Well,
invest. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's truly aspirational. Like I was saying,
It really is. Like it makes me want to dress smartly. It makes me want to like feel like I could. wear
But this isn't.
But
this,
if, sorry, I just need to ask this. It's a little bit provocative, but if this, what you've just seen, was Vuitton by whoever and not your dear friend, would you
For
feel
sure.
exactly the same?
Mm-hmm.
You sure? Okay, I trust it. I'm interested to know
colour-
because to me, that, you know, I probably would fall more in that category. It looks a tiny bit
I mean, it's
too classy for what he is. And
I
to
mean,
you
it's a
that
safe.
you know him well,
It's a
and
safe
you-
collection compared to some that he's done. But
Yeah.
He's a bit safe.
but that's not a bad thing when
I
it's
think
No,
done so
it's not a
beautifully.
bad thing. I love it. I love it. It's just a bit safe for
this and the last
Kim Jones.
collection are definitely much more sort of Parisian. And the sort of first 4 collections, you know, the very first one was
More
very
street.
subtle, and then the next 3 were more Kim.
I just hope there's no shareholder picking the phone on Monday morning and asking him to be safer. I know the group. I know the brand. I'm a tiny bit scared when I see this. If you see
But
what I mean.
it takes some confidence
But
to
then,
be safer in a way and to do this.
And
to
also
sort of
it's realistic.
step away
Like,
from-
I'm sorry, but the industry in the stores and sales in as a whole are falling to pieces. Like, it's not a time to be
I agree.
taking stupid risks and blowing things away. Like,
I think also to an extent, I mean, you know, you've got a very big show for women's wear coming up. So I think it would be strange for Kim to propose a whole new aesthetic when, you know...
When Nicola Ghesquière is going to be showing
That's
his first
interesting.
collection. That's
That's
a good
fair
point.
enough what you just said.
That's a good point.
But would it? No, I don't know. I mean, I loved it. That was my favorite. The first two looks, I was like, wow. And then it became so quiet.
but it was all the color tones and the palettes were very Kim. Like, they were really soft, gentle. Like the matching and pairings of things was. It felt like him.
I like how
If
graphic
I were a
it
boy, I
was.
would buy the first look, the first coat.
Scarves are great.
Yeah, the accessories again are great. Yeah, I mean, when we're talking about wearing it, or if I was the man that I was inspiring to be, maybe I prefer the mountain collection, and I mean
The what? Sorry.
mountain collection that had and the kind of aquatic kind of feel to the other collections. But I mean, I'm connected with that more. But I think this is a really strong graphic collection. But
I mean, it's definitely a classic. But then so much of Milan was hyper classic. There's a definite mood to going
But that's
hyper
what
classic.
Milan is, always. I think Armani was the most adventurous, funny enough, this year. I looked at the Armani show, I'm like, this is probably the most adventurous.
You're not the only person to say that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad, because
Well,
sometimes I think...
That's probably what's going to happen with menswear for probably forever, or maybe a long time, where it's going to get progressive, and then harken back. That's kind of nature of menswear. Is just it never, especially stuff like this, it never constantly stays out on the limb. But let's say someone like, I don't know, so many labels in women's wear where it's just things you've never seen before, you know?
Yeah,
or
but
references
but I
aren't
think
usually used.
this is more relevant than skirts on men, if I may say. You see what I mean? That's
No,
what
yeah,
I
but
like
that's the
about
thing,
him.
yeah, of course.
He's still British, he's still modern, he's still, creative, and he remains relevant again.
I like that, maybe
Those boots.
less so in this collection, but I always like
And the metal work on that jumper, like, I mean, there's so much of it,
I didn't see that.
about Kim's
Is this
stuff.
metal?
You need to see
You
the
see it,
clothes.
yeah.
Yeah.
You need to
Metal?
touch it. Yeah, these are all metal pieces that are sewn on.
I mean, I want to know the materials and stuff
Wow.
as well. I remember he did
And
like
half of
stingray leather
the-
and like...
yeah, completely.
yeah.
Half of the like joy of his work is like touching it and feeling it and trying it on, and the way it sits on the body. Like, all of this just looks so like comfortable, and you.
Yeah, but that's true for many. I mean, without taking anything away from here,
But
most of the time, a show, if you see it in movement, if you see it in the showroom, maybe in the showroom it's not styled, but you can touch it and...
But
It
so
looks
much
like
menswear you
showing,
try it
for
on,
sure.
and for me anyway, so much menswear you try it on, and you just, for me, I don't feel comfortable in it. The cuts are always slightly too precise, whereas this is kind of like softened, and it's still really luxury, but it's toned it and released that little bit enough for you to feel.
I always think it's like he designs for like someone that's a gentleman, but they would, and they're cultured and they're educated and they travel but they feel comfortable in any environment, but also they could fuck you up if they wanted to. Do you know what I mean? There's a hardness to it as well.
She did swear.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe I don't want to be the Louis Vuitton man, but I'd like to date the Louis Vuitton man.
But it's funny, you keep talking about him being well-traveled and the travel, that the Vuitton mantra is about travel, it's they started with trunks for crossing the ocean, and so if he's a traveler, he fits perfectly with the DNA of the brand.
Yeah, I mean, that's just...
Yeah, I can see you in that.
Which one, 27?
25.
25.
Yeah.
Yeah, 25 and 26. I mean, that's.
I love
kind
the
of-
fruits.
What do you think that
a lot.
is? That fabric? Do you think it's fur?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of, a bit more that cross between high lux and his modernity. But I mean, as well, it wouldn't be relevant if there's not some classics, because it would be Vuitton needs to have classics as well as modernity, doesn't it? But
Absolutely.
but there's a lot of classics in this, and the last one, and I think there were 3 shows before where there was more Kim. But you know, he, like you said, he's designing Louis Vuitton. He's not designing Kim Jones.
I guess you don't want things to be formulaic, but I'd like to see another collaboration like he did with Chapman Brothers. I thought that was really successful.
That's what I was kind of waiting for.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't understand what you say. You'd like to see that?
Like a collaboration like he did with the Chapman Brothers.
You would like to, or you know
Yeah.
he's going to?
I'd like to see it. I don't know if
Okay.
he's going to, but I
Okay.
guess you don't want to become formulaic
No,
and
that was-
everyone
and that
expects
was massive,
it.
and
Yeah.
it was just
a bit
last
bell
season.
stuff.
Like,
29.
it was
Like this
Sorry.
coat, it's incredible just with that
so beautiful.
that lining.
So
The
beautiful.
Just the bottom half?
The coats are the best
Yeah.
Oh wow!
thing
Yeah.
in this show by far to me. All the coats are fantastic.
I think
The shape, the materials, the colors.
Beautiful.
the Chapman thing felt amazing when they did that, just because it was
It
that
was
like
huge.
yeah, it was, you know, and what great artists to pick up on, and, well, not pick up on, you know, work with. And that, you know, I remember seeing the sort of campaign imagery going up, and I was just like, you know, I don't like to comment on people's Instagrams because it looks like you're wanting them to reply, but but I couldn't help but go, wow, this is
It does look at it like,
doesn't
oh,
it?
you
Yeah.
want J-Lo to reply to you?
Yeah.
Do you have Instagram?
I do, but I usually
No.
don't comment on
Once I
celebrities.
get my phone back, I'm
Stalk
following
you.
following you.
Please don't comment. But I will reply. I don't have
Alright.
millions of followers. So.
Yeah, I think the show's
It's
great.
good. It's not, I don't think it's the best Kim Jones we've ever seen, but it's good. I mean, this page, if I didn't know who it was, I could never guess.
Like that coat.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
But that soft kind of pastel colours, that is very Kim. The like tones and the like the palettes is very him.
Yeah, the kind of stone. The stone has
Yeah.
been recurrent theme, hasn't it? Right from when he was doing
He's like-
tracksuits.
I'm gonna guess Australia or somewhere. Like looking, you know, we're saying where in the world.
Yeah.
Because of this, like sand and kind of mud and then you know like little bits of water. I can imagine
kind of
like
volcanic sand.
yeah, or like
Well, there
You know
were
the
some
way-
pictures. There were some pictures that went up on Instagram of him and Natalie Imbruglia in Bali.
okay. Oh, I don't know. I'm not
But that
seeing,
was
I'm
a
not
long
seeing
time
Bali.
ago.
That doesn't look like Bali.
No.
Not to me.
But that was a long time ago, so it was too early, I think, to be inspiration for the show. I think it was more like 6 months ago or something, maybe.
I like
And the
those.
last looks incredible,
These
Yeah,
suits are just
exactly.
amazing.
right?
I agree. I agree.
I'd love to wear that middle one.
Yeah, it's nice. But yeah, the last look, that look there is incredible. The trench over like this really subtle tux.
Is 42 the last one?
I think so.
Yeah, so it's a tax. Double-breasted. There's a lot of double-breasted coming back also, which was quite tacky in the Dior Homme era of Hedi Slimane. Remember? I mean, double-breasted was like, and now it's very much back. Yeah. But I've seen a lot of double-breasted in Milan as well.
Well, I think it's just anything. It's like the whole two-button thin lapel has so worn itself out that there has to be a new way forward, because it's almost like it's almost like buying a suit now is almost you know it's going to be obsolete because you know that there isn't a new suit shape, so they have to make one. It's hard to buy a suit because if you buy that standard suit that everybody's been wearing for 10 years, you know it's gonna, at any second, the new shape will define itself. So I think everybody's struggling to define that new suit shape.
It's not easy.
I think he was in Africa, Cape Town.
He was in Cape Town.
Those patterns are satellite images of that area.
Wow.
Makes sense.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Oh
Thank
wow.
you.
Because he loves safari. He's always on safari, isn't he?
Yeah, he does love.
There's
the
always like
safari.
monkeys on his Instagram, right?
Yeah.
There's like cute monkeys.
He
No, that's
loves
his-
cute
Yeah, he did
Monkeys.
prints actually of monkeys in some of his earlier collections.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No, yeah, his Instagram's good for a cute monkey.
But I think, yeah, that's probably a big inspiration. Animals, I think, and the textures from like animals. like
No, yeah,
prints
you're right.
and,
No,
like,
if you
yeah.
bring his Instagram into it, there's always animals, like everything. So
I'm a
National
bit
Geographic.
unsure about that little belt that I see everywhere. It looks a little bit German
This is,
to me.
I think that looks great on
With
that
all due
model as
respect.
well. The tan
Yeah.
inside and the
Do you see what I mean?
It's good
Yeah, I
casting
don't
on
know.
Or
him.
Swiss banker kind of belt. But, you know, the coats are fantastic.
I mean, I suppose as well, like, you know, what's the competition for this is, you know, if Hermes is the competition, this is radical. You know, and I'm guessing that, you know, I know that he's spoken, you know, the competition could be Hermes or Lanvin, you know, and then that's kind of what we're fitting it into. I don't know if the competition's not Prada, I don't think, and it's not Raf.
I think the competition is everything, actually. I mean, it could be Prada, which is quite big in menswear, and it has a different take on classic formal with an edge. Certainly Hermes is, because they're both French and they're both big and they're
Plus
both
the
very
price
expensive.
points though.
Like, probably it's more Hermes
Like
than
that
Prada.
Patagonia like fur thing's probably like it's like over 10. You know, like it's just the price points are unreal. Like I remember one season.
So the
last
competition
season,
is more Hermes than
yeah,
Lanvin.
because even like one of the backpacks, it was incredible even when he did it. It was kind of neon-y and had all the carboners and all this stuff on it. I was like, oh, that's amazing. I looked at it, so I'm thinking like 3. It was like $15,000.
Wow.
You know, so
Was it in Croco or?
it wasn't crock or nothing. It was just like Teflon and all kinds of like it was. You could actually take it to Mount
15.
Everest or something.
1,000.
Well, I was gonna. The only person I've ever met, it's a total name drop situation, but the only person I've ever sat with wearing Louis Vuitton is Michael Stipe. You know, so like I'm thinking
Wearing
you
a
need-
bag or a piece
He had.
of clothing?
We were talking about how we were all drunk out of our minds, and we were talking about how much we liked Kim Jones, and then he just went, "Oh, I've got the shirt on."
Yeah. No, the stuff is really it's really expensive.
So it's expensive, but Hermes is
very
uber
expensive too.
boring. Like,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
so this is radical. I mean, if you read, I had to write a piece about Hermes and the struggle that every single writer, no matter how good they were, had with going, oh, this is what you'd wear if you're really rich, and you know which really translated as, what the hell is this boring thing? But it's because it's so expensive. You know, you have to be a banker, a central banker.
A CEO.
But that's the thing. So you know.
So
you
this
said,
is
you
radical.
said Michael, right, was wearing a piece.
Yeah.
But he's a quite stylish dude.
Yeah.
And that's who he's made for. Like, stylish dudes who have the bread, who have the money. You know? That's the total thing. Where Mike's probably not going in Hermes going through the men's racks. But because of the context, Louis brought in Kim. So then Mike's like, oh, Kim's cool. Or we're at a party together or whatever. And he's going to go in and look at the rack and be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get this.
But that's it, you know. Hermes didn't do what Vuitton smartly did, starting with Marc Jacob, in putting real fashion designer in their, you know, ready-to-wear section. Which Hermes they did with Gautier for a while, but it didn't work out as well as they hoped. And now it's like, as you say, you know, it's just expensive. It's not enough. It's not enough anymore. There is too much to choose from.
Yeah. I mean, it's for Princess Anne or something, or whoever the French version is. You know,
Be careful, you're on TV.
The Duke of Edinburgh. So, do we have a celebrity question?
Celebrity questions.
So, celebrity question this
just
time.
got real.
Hey?
Wow.
Just got real. Wow.
So the celebrity question this time is from Queen, well, not Queen Bee, because that would be Beyonce, but it's from Susie Menkes, who's actually more fabulous. So, wow. So does Kim's peripatetic...
Peripatetic?
Yes, thank you.
It's a
The
travel.
what? The what?
Peripatetic.
And I have a definition within
Thanks.
brackets.
I
Open bracket, definition, moving stroke, working in various places for short periods. Childhood, moving across Africa, giving extra fillip to his designs for Louis Vuitton, a brand built on travel.
Well, we said it, we answered it in a way in our panel, because they were speaking about travel. I said this is perfectly matching with the DNA of the brand, which is based on travel. So my answer is yes.
But you know, I say yes and no. I say yes and no because I read an op-ed in the New York Times about that particular thing. Does a writer need to have traveled to places or whatever to write about certain things? So I think we could talk about his childhood, but also give credit to his imagination. You know, like Ralph Lauren grew up in the Bronx, but he had a mind. If you look at the collections and stuff like that, it spanned the world. The type of stuff he dialed into, even before he got the money and what he was putting out there. So I think it's both. I think it's both with him.
I agree with you in the other way. I mean, you can be someone kept in prison and write the most amazing
like
traveling
the Count Monte
story.
Cristo or something.
But I think that if you are taken around the world, that will feed your imagination. So one doesn't deny the other, but
you have to have the imagination to harness it.
You described him as a Renaissance man, and I think it helped the fact that he grew up in different places.
Because you can see that stuff firsthand, and then you see the textures and the handicrafts and all those things. But then you've got to translate that into something that's modern. So you've got to have the imagination as well, and the context.
I think it also gives you a confidence to work on that level, and to work in that milieu. If it's very difficult.
True.
If you're not, experienced in certain things in life, to then go and talk to all those people and tell them how things are.
Tell them off as well sometimes.
Yeah.
And make them believe in you.
Yeah.
And make yourself believable.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you have to be the voice for however many thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are going to buy into this, and not even buy into it, aspire to buy into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because Kim's first collection for Vuitton was so right, and that rightness. Susie Menkes in the past wrote some very unpleasant things about his work at Dunhill, and when, I thought it was unfair. I thought it was unfairly unpleasant. I thought it was unfairly unpleasant. Anyway, some very, and now he totally won them. When he came to Vuitton, he totally won the press over because he just walked in there and he just did. I think that African background enabled him that rightness.
But so since Susie is certainly a very smart person and she certainly knows about fashion, maybe that's what she was implying with her question. She criticized him at Dunhill. He was in the right environment. I honestly don't remember him at Dunhill, so I'm not judging. But now she sees that he is exactly where he should be, and there is a certain match.
I really apologise for not getting my references right. It may have been Kathy Horan, who
it sounds like.
I can't remember which one it was. So sorry, Susie, if I carry on, Tremaine.
But no, and it's kind of like sports too, in a sense where you can have a player at one team with one coach, and the coach has them doing a certain thing, and then they get to a different team, and then they're able to blossom and be a star.
Maybe they let him free.
You don't know what was going on at Dunhill. I mean, I don't know, but you never know what. He might have been kicking some of these same ideas, and they're like, no.
Yeah. I don't know either, but maybe Dunhill wasn't ready for that. It's more
I mean,
traditional brand.
I loved his work, but I'm just saying that, the background means that when he got to Vuitton, it just everything fell in place, and it was such.
Because it was able to be 360.
Was he poached out of Dunhill, or he left and then he was? What happened there?
He left.
He left.
Yeah.
He left. So he probably was unhappy there.
Yeah.
And then
but also I think
he
probably got a lot from Dunhill though as well, an understanding of
completely.
that luxury brand.
Yeah, of course.
But with Vuitton as well, it's a much more 360 thing. Like he's able to really explore, like, as we said, the advertising, like the inspirations, all of those things. It wasn't as big with Dunhill.
And it was mutual, whereas like maybe Dunhill needed him more than it wasn't like a look. It wasn't a look for him. Whereas Louis Vuitton's a look for both of them. Them having Kim there, and then it's a look for
win-win.
Kim. Yeah,
Well, it's a big leap for Dunhill as well. To go to high fashion.
What's happening with Dunhill? They hired John Ray, and I haven't seen. And I think John is fantastic. I haven't seen a collection yet.
I think they
What's going on there?
They seem to not really. They have a sort of love-hate relationship with high fashion.
The Hill's done.
The Hill's done.
Dad joke.
I got it.
Dad joke.
I'm blonde, but I got it.
So shall we do closing comments? Do we feel ready?
Have you got any more questions?
Unfortunately, Susie hasn't sent any more
or
questions.
anyone else?
Other celebrities?
Some
Thank
interaction.
you, Susie, for that fantastic
Queen Bee.
question. Queen Bee hasn't rung in. No. Let's do. Well, let's do closing, and then we can have closing comebacks. So.
What's a closing comeback?
That's like when I ask another question.
Okay.
When you do your closing. So, Dom, what do you think to the collection, to Kim Jones, to Paris?
I thought it was a beautiful collection. I thought the colour palettes were gorgeous. Arguably safer than what he's done before, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I thought there was an awful lot of it that I would like to wear, or would like to be the person that could wear that. Yeah, beautiful.
Mimma?
Well, I would say exactly the same, apart from the wearing part, and apart from, I don't think it's a bad thing that it's a safe collection, because I hope it's not a bad thing. And I explain, I think this is safer than ever, and I hope that it's his choice and not something imposed to him. But it's a beautiful collection, amazing coats.
Tremaine?
Just want to say, Kim, I'm a size 52. UK 10 in shoes. Yeah. No, it was great. It was great. Kim, Kim's a legend. No, I thought it was a great show. I agree with Dom, like safer than I expected. And then Carri, like I was really kind of waiting, like what collaboration he was gonna do. Other than that, I thought it was great, especially towards the middle and end of the show. It's amazing.
Versace lady.
I'd say, that it's strong, graphic, like future luxury, and I'm really excited to see what he does in the future.
Okay, cool.
Do you have a conclusion?
I don't do conclusions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Open-ended.
Well, you guys.
You're an ongoing contradiction.
Yeah. That's You guys are my conclusion.
Cool.
Cool.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.